In the late 1800s and early 1900s, the American public were dissatisfied with our public schools. They were boring. They relied on rote memorization. The topics that were taught were very classical. They were not relevant to American life. Wallace's Farmer says we need to abandon the cut and dried formula of a period where a man was educated only when he knew Greek and Latin. In New York State, the Dean of Agriculture went out to observe a school, and the teacher was showing off how smart the students were by asking questions. How far is it from Paris to Constantinople? How far is it from Rome to Constantinople? And the students were answering, and they knew the answers, and the teacher said, "Are there any questions?" So Dr. Bailey said, "How far is it from Hoovelton to Ogdensburg?" Those are two towns in New York. That is where the students are likely to travel. They're not going to travel from Constantinople to Rome, so they didn't need to know that. There was a school superintendent in Illinois says, in our curriculum, we teach bamboo, the kangaroo, and the cockatoo. How many of those are relevant to farm life in rural Illinois? And these are typical of quotes and the attitude the public had in the early 1900s toward education. It was out of touch with reality. So there was a concerted groundswell effort to change education and make it more practical, relevant, and applied. The United States Department of Agriculture started teaching agriculture in the public schools. They emphasized it, they promoted it. And there was an organization established in 1906 called the National Society for the Promotion of Industrial Education, made up of manufacturers and labor movement people to promote vocational education. This is the forerunner of the Association for Career and Technical Education. And in 1906, the governor of Massachusetts, Governor Douglas, appointed a commission to study education in that state. The commission found three things. People wanted vocational training, there was a lack of skilled workers, and what was being taught in the public schools was out of touch with reality. Between 1906 and 1914, there were 10 bills introduced into Congress. For a variety of reasons, they did not pass. But finally, in 1917, the Smith-Hughes Act was passed. This provided federal funds to support the teaching of vocational education. And since the Smith-Hughes Act was passed, Congress has appropriated more and more funds. There have been additional acts such as the Vocational Education Act of 1963, the Carl Perkins Act, which continues to promote career and technical education as we call it now. Recently, there's been a resurgence in the popularity of career and technical education because going to a four-year college is expensive, the job market is soft, and the students often are deep in debt when they finish college. And we have career and technical education students who are graduating with virtually no debt, and they can go out and find good paying jobs. So career and technical education has emerged over the last 100 years to something that's very popular and what we need in society. Let me end by reading a quote. The society which scorns excellence in plumbing as a humble activity and tolerates shoddiness in philosophy because it is an exalted activity will have neither good plumbing nor good philosophy. Neither its pipes nor its theories will hold water.